Most gardeners spend huge amounts of time fighting weeds, watering dry soil, and replacing mulch, whereas ground cover plants solve all these three problems. In the food forest, the ground cover layer acts like a living mulch, protecting the soil, keeping moisture in, and feeding pollinators. And there are even ground cover plants that produce food. And today we're looking at what the ground cover layer actually does, three of my favourite plants that I use as ground covers, and how to manage the plants in your garden so they don't take over. So the ground cover layer is this layer here that spreads across the ground below all the other layers of the food forest. And these plants, they usually spread horizontally rather than vertically. The idea that they're going to cover all of the bare soil, fill in all the gaps in between the other plants in the food forest. So in nature, bare soil is extremely rare, and as soon as soil is exposed to sunlight and moisture, then seeds will start to germinate and grow. And so the purpose of the ground cover layer is to cover this soil, and so that we can choose what we want growing here, rather than having all sorts of weed seeds germinating and taking over our food forest. So by adding in these ground cover plants, we're trying to protect the soil. So a good ground cover layer can kind of completely change the feel of a food forest. So you go from having bare soil, where water's evaporating fast, and quite often the food forest can feel quite dry, and the ground can be sort of almost crispy to walk on. Whereas when you have a ground cover, it covers the soil, so it helps to reduce heat build-up, so the soil doesn't get as hot, so water doesn't evaporate as much. So particularly in like really hot, dry weather, a ground cover can really help to bring down the temperature of the ground in a food forest. It can help sort of raise the levels of humidity as well, so it can have a really different feel to have a ground cover, a living mulch in a food forest, rather than a mulch of something like, say, wood chip. And as well, you get so many added benefits of having a ground cover layer. So it's not just good in terms of covering the ground and keeping in moisture and reducing weeds. You can also have things, like the ajuga, that are plants for pollinators. So you're increasing the food source for all sorts of creatures within your garden, increasing the biodiversity, helping to feed all those beneficial insects and bring them into your food forest to help to fight the pests as well. And it also increases biodiversity of your soil life. So the best thing for the soil food web is to have roots in the soil, to have something growing in the soil all the time. So if you have a food forest where a lot of it is covered with bark chippings, then it stops weeds coming up and it reduces soil moisture, but there's not really that much in the ground for the soil organisms to eat. So by having actually a living mulch and having the roots in the soil, you're going to massively increase the health of your soil microbiome as well, which in turn will make all your plants healthier. And some ground covers, such as clover, can also help to increase the nutrients within the soil. So clover is nitrogen fixing. We can use it as a ground cover plant. It very effectively covers the ground. And then you can also do chop and drop with things like clover, where it's growing as a ground cover plant, but you can also chop some of it off and spread it as mulch around some of your other plants as well. So there's all sorts of benefits we can get from ground cover plants, and including food crops as well. So the first one of my three top ground cover plants is alpine strawberry, or wild strawberry, whatever you want to call it. And I've used this plant for a long time for the ground cover layer in food forest, because it's so pretty. You can eat the leaves, the flowers and the fruit. And particularly when the kids were younger, it was one of their favourite things to go and forage out in the food forest. We taught them fairly early on, how to identify a strawberry and to go out and pick them. So to be able to get all of those functions from this plant, cover the ground, reduce weeding, improve moisture retention, improving the soil microbiome, and having that edible crop as well, is just fantastic. It's also a great plant for pollinators, so I'm constantly seeing all sorts of insects feeding off the flowers of the strawberries, and it's great in that they will grow in sun, and they will also grow quite well in part shade as well. They'll even grow and be an effective ground cover in deeper shade, but you get less fruit the more shade that you put them in, I've found. And another benefit is it fruits for such a long period of time. So you can get fruit as early as sort of late May, and it can still be fruiting right up until the first frosts in, say, October time. So, you know, it produces flowers, fruit, and ground cover for a really long period of time. And yes, it can be a bit invasive if you plant it somewhere where it just has unrestrained ability to grow everywhere. But what I find is that I use it in very specific areas where I have other sort of bigger herbaceous plants that almost block its extent of growth. And actually they're fairly shallow rooted, I've found, and it's fairly easy to dig them out with a hand fork to get rid of them. So they're not a difficult one to manage on a small scale. Another one of my favourite ground cover plants are this Ajuga reptans, and I know that for some people it's not suitable for your area because it can be too invasive in spreading into wild areas, but certainly where I am in the UK, it's one that's fine to use. It works really effectively. Here you can see that the taller Welsh onions are just growing straight through it, but it's providing this really effective mulch underneath, living mulch, so that no other weeds are coming up and getting in the way. It has these beautiful spires of purple flowers that the bees absolutely love. I think I've just scared them off by coming over, but there's been bees on this for days. It's already been flowering for ages. And you can get all sorts of different varieties. So you can get ones that have sort of more almost rainbow coloured leaves. You can get really dark, deep purple ones. And there are all sorts of different varieties of ajuga that you can get. You can technically eat the leaves. They're not particularly tasty, so I don't. I really mainly grow it for its ability to cover the ground, to suppress weeds, and because of these beautiful flowers which the pollinators absolutely love. It's also, it spreads really quickly. It has these runners which will come out and root along. Whenever it hits the soil, it will root and then send out other plants from there, which makes it a really effective plant for quickly covering some fairly large areas, which is also why it can be invasive. But I haven't found this to be a problem plant in my food forest at all, because it's so small, it doesn't swamp anything out, it just fills the gaps between all the other plants. Another benefit is that it will grow in sun, and it will also grow in really quite deep shade. And as with some other plants, it seems to flower better in the sun, but equally it likes a moist soil, although it will still grow in a fairly dry soil as well, but it just won't be as lush and it won't spread as quickly. I really love the way here it's kind of spilling out of the bed and coming across the path. It really softens the edge of the food forest. And I could let this spread out and across this path because it does actually take a fair amount of trampling. But probably if I get any bits rooting in the path here, I'll probably dig those up and transplant them around to other areas of my food forest which don't have much ground cover yet. Creeping comfrey, Hidcote blue, is another one of my favourite ground cover plants. This one is a bit more kind of vigorous, and so I tend to use this in deep shade areas where not much else will grow, under trees or under the base of a hedge. And this is really fantastic for sort of biomass production. So it's a growing, living mulch, but it's also really great for cut again to create mulch that you can then also put around other areas of the garden. And it has these deep tap roots which will go deep into the soil and bring up lots of nutrients that other plants' roots can't quite reach. And then when you cut the leaves, you can then spread those nutrients around the garden. It's also flowers for a really, really long period of time. So it can start flowering around February time and carry on right into May, sometimes even into June. And particularly if you cut it back once the flowers start to go over, you might even get another flush of flowers much later in the year as well. So giving that food for pollinators for a really long period of time. The downsides to the creeping comfrey are, as with other comfreys, it can be quite hard to get rid of if you decide that you don't want it there anymore. But I found if you're planting it in sort of some of the deeper shady areas where not much else will grow, then I haven't wanted to get rid of it there because it's about the only thing that grows. So I would reserve the creeping comfrey for some of the areas of your food forest where it's just too shady for much else to do well. Some of my other favourite ground cover plants are things like Viola sororia. This one is called Freckles, and it just has this really dense foliage, and nothing else can grow through that. It's a fantastic ground cover, and the leaves and the flowers are edible as well. There's the Campanula postchaskiana, and this is the Siberian bellflower. And once again, this forms such a dense mat of foliage that anything else would really struggle to establish in that. It's really quite low growing, so it only grows maximum of sort of 30 centimetres when it's flowering. It grows in the sun, it grows in the shade, it grows in like really rocky soils, so quite shallow soils as well. And it's evergreen as well, so it means you can be provided with that ground cover, but also you can eat the leaves. They're really nice, sort of mild alternative to lettuce. So you can be eating those leaves all year round as well from this ground cover layer. The flowers are edible as well, really tasty, and also really attractive to pollinators. So it ticks so many boxes. And another one of my favourite, which does grow a little bit taller than what I would usually class as a ground cover, but there's this Stachys byzantina, Lamsey as it's also known as. It has these beautiful, soft, velvety leaves. And beautiful flowers, and whenever I've grown this, you can literally hear the hum of bees and other pollinators feeding on it from before you even see the plant. It's just so popular as a pollinator, and even has these leaves that have the little woolly fibres, can be used by things like the wool carder bee for making nests, and you can use it medicinally for wounds. You can use it like a kind of natural plaster. And you can actually eat it as well. It's quite hairy, so it's not something that I've tried yet. It doesn't look very appetizing, but I have heard it's really good if you sort of dip it in a tempura batter and then deep fry it, because the hairs sort of really help the batter to stick. So it's something that maybe I'll have to give it a go this year. So in terms of managing ground covers, I find them one of the least difficult layers to manage, really, because they are, unlike other plants which kind of grow large and therefore take light from other plants and swamp them out. Ground covers, really, they're just very low growing and they just fill in the gaps. So a bit like this self-heal here, it's just filling the gap between this astrantia and this allium molly. And even if it's spread quite far, it's not likely to really do any damage as such in the food forest. So maybe if I'm wanting to plant something new in and I want that to get established without being smothered by the ground cover, then I might just clear a small area of ground cover before I put in a new plant, just to give that new plant space to grow and to give it a bit of a boost. And you can actually spread mulch if you're wanting to add a bit more nutrition. You can spread a mulch over the top of a ground cover, so long as you sort of make sure you haven't entirely smothered it out with a thick layer. Then the ground cover will just grow through that mulch as well. And if you have something that's really invasive and you want to get rid of it, the best way is probably just to lay something like cardboard over the top of it to kill it off. But I've never found ground covers to be such a bad problem, apart from once. And that one plant was a Nepalese raspberry, and that was a nightmare. That was a ground cover plant, but it sort of creeps up things as well. So it was very effective. It smothered absolutely everything out, the herbaceous layer, and then it had even started growing up into the shrubs, and it was killing off all the blackcurrants and gooseberries and things like that as well, because it actually grew up into a bit like something like a bramble will, it is related. It was growing up and into the shrubs and then taking over the shrubs and smothering those out as well. So other than Nepalese raspberry, which I will never plant again, I have not I've not ever had any real serious problems with ground covers. What I would say is to try different types. So yes, I do love ajuga, but I don't plant the whole, I don't cover the whole forest garden in ajuga. I've got some self-heal. I've also got some Viola sororia, and other things. I've got like hostas, some small hostas underneath the honeyberries. So do little patches of different things, because when we're creating a food forest, it's all about diversity and trying to get as much diversity as possible. So this video is the first in a series all about all the layers of a food forest, and the ground cover layer, obviously it sits underneath all of the other layers, but it is equally one of the more important layers, because that is what reduces the workload so much in a food forest to stop other plants from coming in that we don't want, coming in, seeding and growing and taking over all the things that we're trying to grow. It helps to protect this important root zone. We want to make sure that we have plenty of moisture in the soil for the shrubs and the trees and the other plants as well. So the ground cover layer is really important to support all of the other layers in a food forest. So I'd love to know what your experiences are of growing ground covers in your food forest. Have you got a different variety? How have things gone? Have you had any terrible experiences like my Nepalese raspberry disaster? I'd love to hear about them. In the next video, I'll be covering all about the herbaceous layer. And if you want any examples of planting combinations using ground cover plants, then check out my book, Permaculture Planting Designs.